Hey guys, welcome to yet another episode, and today we are talking all about value for money. Yes, in the recent past, 1 million Kenya shillings was a lot of money, and it would get you a proper vehicle. But these days, even to get yourself a Mazda Demio, you need to be a millionaire. So we went shopping and kama kawaida we visited our guys at Carplicity to see what 1 million Kenya shillings would get us. And on this episode, I need us to discuss one thing. And what do you consider, assuming you have the 1 million Kenya shillings, and the 1 million Kenya shillings is no longer a lot of money. So you can either get a foreign used vehicle, which is probably a doo-doo that is not very interesting to drive, a car that looks small, or maybe even a vehicle that will make you look like an online taxi hailing contractor. Or you can choose to get a local used vehicle that at least has the oomph to drive, and something that is a bit bigger, a bit more practical and versatile. And that is why we are bringing you this episode, because AutoConnect is the only car channel that will guarantee you an alluring motor vehicle experience. And before we talk about these two cars and talk about the value 1 million Kenya shillings will give you when it comes to cars, I'll be your host, Eric Wakabi, Eric with a CK. Remember, you can follow me at a personal level, Eric Wakabi, on Facebook, Instagram, X, and TikTok as well. My handle is Eric Wakabi, Eric with a CK. And remember, you can like our pages as well, AutoConnect Pre-Purchase and Sourcing on Facebook, and also AutoConnect Kenya on Instagram. Remember, we offer services such as pre-purchase inspection and sourcing, na pia tunafanya consultation. Now, let's get up close and candid with today's episode. So, when we went to Carplicity, this is what we found. For 1 million Kenya shillings, if you choose to go foreign used, 1 million Kenya shillings will get you this car right here. This is a 2017 Nissan Cube, a car that is very underrated and no one talks about it. The demand for Nissan Cube is not very, we can't say it's a vehicle that has a high demand, but it's a very unique vehicle. From afar, it might look like a very boxy doo-doo, but this is not your conventional doo-doo, because under the hood is a 4-cylinder HR15 engine. Yeah, so this one is a 1500cc kadudu, so it will give you an edge of performance because of something we call power to weight ratio. It's a very light car, so the 1500cc will make you feel that this car has a punch of power that you would not get, say, in a Nissan Note E12, the one without the supercharger. Yeah, so not the DIGS, the normal one, and maybe a Nissan March. And talking about transmission, it also runs on a transmission that is quite reliable from Nissan. It's called the RE0F110, and it's quite reliable. If you guys have driven, if you remember the Nissan Note E11, the Nissan Note E11 was one of the very reliable Nissans that you can buy affordably, and it is good that it has been, we can say, okay, it was replaced by the E12, but the reincarnation of the E11 is probably the Nissan Cube, because one, it is spacious. In fact, the unique selling point of this Cube is it has the design of an MPV. It has a high roof and a very low floor. Hence, you get a lot of headroom, a lot of legroom. It's very spacious at the front. Even the cabin is very spacious, both for the front passenger and for the rear passenger. It has decent cargo space as well. It has small wheels, and that is part of the reasons why it looks like a small kadudu. So this is what you'll get for 1 million. A decent kadudu. But, well, in terms of looks, we say that beauty is in the eyes of the beholder. Yeah, so to some, it is not pretty. To others, it is quite good looking. But one thing I love about the design language of the Cube is that it's quite boxy. Now, on this other hand, for the same 1 million Kenya shillings, if I go to Carplicity, I can get myself 2010 Mitsubishi RVR. It is a favorite to many because it's quite economical, it has a good ground clearance, but it's not really exciting to drive, especially for people who might be looking for driving thrill from a vehicle. It's powered by an 1800cc 4B10 engine, a CVT transmission, and it comes with two-wheel drive or four-wheel drive. This particular one is a two-wheel drive RVR. The four-wheel drive ones are going to be a bit more expensive. Yes. Now, what are the major differences? Before I talk about the major differences between this car and what they'll get in terms of value, I need to talk about one design cue on the RVR that is common to the Nissan X-Trail T32. You see this fender right here? This is not your usual, unaweza fikiria ni ya mabati from the look of it. But if you remember the Nissan X-Trail T32, it had plastic fenders. And even the 2010 RVR still has plastic fenders. Ona, bukaribia camera uone. Yes. Part of the reason why they used plastic fenders on these RVRs and these T30s was part of weight reduction and also reducing production costs. Now, the RVR will appeal to many because of one thing, ground clearance. So it can maneuver almost everywhere. The other thing, it might not be as economical as the Cube, but it is still economical considering that it's a subcompact crossover SUV. Now, these two cars can be used by a small young family or for somebody who wants to move from point A to point B. But one thing I'm going to tell you is that Cube is faster than the RVR any day, anytime. Now, let's talk about how do you choose whether to go foreign used or to go locally used. The pros and cons. If you buy this to do right here for 1 million, because right now, which other cars can you get for 1 million Kenya shillings? You can maybe get a very basic Nissan Note E12. You can maybe get a Toyota Rumi. The other vehicle you can get for 1 million Kenya shillings. Even a Mazda Demio is above 1 million. Even the Honda Fit is way above 1 million. So unless you start getting now these others too, or you can also get a Nissan March. Yeah. So you don't have much of a choice if you have 1 million and you want to buy a foreign used vehicle. So what are the advantages? Well, you might not get a car that is, say, decent enough, or a car that, not unless you're looking for only a point A to point B vehicle, you might not be very impressed to buy a car that is worth 1 million Kenya shillings. But what are the advantages of buying a car that is worth 1 million Kenya shillings as foreign used in the Kenyan market? Number one is you will have access to what we call asset financing. So if you're buying that car on credit, you can have a bank finance you this car. Also, you have other credit facilities such as hire purchase, and also, SACCO financing. Also, your company can finance you these cars. The other thing is comprehensive insurance. So if you're buying a 2017 unit, you're guaranteed of comprehensive insurance. Now, the other thing might be quite relative, and that is in the condition of the vehicle. With a 2017 foreign used vehicle, you're almost sure that the car is decent in terms of usage. Not all foreign used vehicles are good quality vehicles. In fact, some of them come in with very poor quality, but at least if you're getting it from a good dealer such as Carplicity, you are assured that if I get a foreign used vehicle, it is going to be in fairly good condition. So those are some of the pros that you will get if you buy this Kadudu for 1 million and you do not mind the Kadudu appearance. Tuko pamoja hadi hapo. So tumesema asset financing is one of the benefits. So you have access to a wide pool of asset financing. The other thing is comprehensive insurance, and the other thing is lower maintenance cost because the vehicle is in fairly good condition from the point it's imported. Now I would like us to move to buying a locally used vehicle. One thing about locally used vehicles is that they'll give you immense value, because for the same price that you're going to maybe get the Nissan Cube for, you're going to get a vehicle that is more versatile, a vehicle that will take you to Shago without worrying about ground clearance, also a vehicle that will make you, have at least some confidence on the road, and also have, some sort of presence. Because one thing, I'll give you a short story. There is a car I used to drive around, and one day I went to one of the big hotels in Nairobi, and once you get at the gate, unasimamishwa na soja anakuambia kudrop ni pale, kudrop na kupick ni pale. From the word go, from the prima facie, the first impression, they perceive you to be a cab driver. But so if you don't want all that, and you still have the 1 million Kenya shillings, the RVR or any other vehicle, in fact, for 1 million, you can get a subcompact crossover SUV like the RVR. You can get, you can also get the Subaru Forester, the likes of Akina SG5. You can get a Mark X GRX 130, the previous generations of the Skyline. So you have a wide variety of vehicles to choose from if you're going to buy a locally used vehicle for 1 million. And ukicheza vizuri utapata even Subaru Forester SH for around that price. That is if you're patient enough, and if you're kama unajua kuangalia. But maybe for an RVR of a Subaru Forester SH, you will be spending between 1 million to 1.2 million for a decently used vehicle. I don't think it's a good idea to get financing from these institutions that will give you exorbitant interest rates, because most of the time your vehicle will end up being repossessed. So I find SACCOs to be much more, friendlier. But if you're going for financing from some of these to small institutions, try and just make sure it's very little and something that will not make your vehicle end up being repossessed and resold again. So one of the cons is, apart from quality of vehicles, the other one is financing. Now the third one is you might not enjoy the benefits of comprehensive insurance. Well, case to case or case by case, you might get comprehensive insurance for older vehicles, but not all of them. Sawa. So you also might have to look at, the insurance aspect, and if you're comfortable with getting a vehicle that will only get a third-party cover. So you might have immense value buying a locally used vehicle, but there are some things that you might not enjoy. So what you will enjoy is versatility, a wide pool of vehicles to choose from. You will get a vehicle that has good presence, and a vehicle that has good command on the road, and a vehicle that also is big enough for your family and will maneuver, hata huko ushago. But now for the foreign used for 1 million Kenya shillings, these days you can barely buy yourself a proper car. Yes, nimewambia, the cars that used to be below 1 million Kenya shillings, we used to have the Mazda Demios, we used to have the Nissan Notes, we used to have cars like the Honda Fit, the Suzuki Swift, but the Peugeot 208. But unfortunately, all these cars now are above the 1 million Kenya shillings mark, and some of the few vehicles left within are like the Nissan Cube. But that is now if you don't mind buying the Suzuki Altos, the Daihatsu Miras, basically the taxi cars, or the small taxi cars. So tell us, if you had 1 million Kenya shillings, what would you go for? Would you choose to buy a foreign used to do, or would you choose to scout the market for a proper, versatile, locally used vehicle? For instance, this subcompact crossover SUV, for the same price, but only lose out on those few things. I've been your host, Eric Okabi, Eric with a CK, and I hope this has been an insightful episode. So which other episode do you want us to do in terms of value? Can we do a 2 million Kenya shillings? Because with 2 million, you can get so many cars when it comes to the locally used market. Sawa. But if you go to the foreign used market and want to spend 2 million, well, again, you will have a limited window of cars to choose from. Remember to subscribe to the channel. And if you're in the market for a locally used vehicle, remember we offer services such as pre-purchase, inspection, and sourcing services. This is a locally used Hadi, the foreign used vehicles. So we value your feedback. Tell us, would you want more of an episode like this one?